Racing games today look better than ever. High quality textures, realistic lighting, cinematic effects, hundreds of licensed cars and parts. And yet, for many players, something is missing. Older racing games, especially from the early to mid 2000s, felt more intense, more memorable, and more alive. Not necessarily more realistic, but more engaging. So why is that? Why do so many modern racing games feel technically impressive, but emotionally flat? Let's talk about it, shall we? Older racing games weren't afraid to be flawed, and those flaws gave them personalities. Juiced was rough, chaotic, and unpredictable. Midnight Club was fast, wild, and borderline unfair. Burnout was reckless and destructive. Need for Speed leaned heavily into fantasy and style. Each game had a very clear identity. Today, many racing games aim to be everything at once. Sim-leaning but accessible, arcade-like but realistic, casual but competitive. The result is often something polished but generic and not memorable. When a game tries too hard to appeal to everyone, it risks leaving no strong impression on anyone. Another big shift is how progression works. Older racing games gave you context. You weren't just unlocking cars and parts. You were climbing a scene and your garage told the story. That low-end starter car you barely scraped by with, the upgrades you could barely afford, higher-end unlocks that took a while to get to, progression felt earned because it was tied to a struggle. Modern racing games often rely on instant rewards. High-end cars are unlocked since the start, in-game credits pile up fast, progress bars fill out quickly, the unlocks you get in the games barely feel like progress. It feels efficient, but not memorable. This one is controversial, but important. Physics in many of the older games were often rough around the edges, but they demanded respect. Cars felt heavy, mistakes mattered, overdriving punished you. You had to learn the handling. Modern racing games prioritize smoothness and control above all else. Cars snap back into line, loss of control is temporary, mistakes are easy to recover from. This makes games more accessible, which isn't a bad thing, but it also removes tension. When cars feel like toys, races lose weight. One of the biggest differences is risk. Many older racing games weren't afraid to punish you. You could lose money, you could lose your car, you could mess up your entire career because of one mistake. Games like Need for Speed Most Wanted, Juiced, Midnight Club, or even Street Racing Syndicate made you feel like every race mattered. You didn't just race for XP or a checklist. You raced because failure actually cost you something. If you drove dirty, you paid for it. If you gambled, you could lose large. If you mess up, there was no rewind button waiting to save you. That tension created stakes, and stakes created emotion. Modern racing games, by comparison, are incredibly forgiving. You get rewinds, instant restarts, no real financial consequences, no long-term punishment for your mistakes. You're rarely in danger of ruining anything. And without risk, winning doesn't feel as rewarding. Career modes used to be the backbone of racing games. They had structure, goals, a sense of progression that unfolded over time. Even without deep stories, the framework mattered. Today, many racing games replace career modes with open-ended playlists, festivals, or live service progression systems. You're free to do anything, but nothing feels essential. Freedom sounds good on paper, but structure is what gives motivation. When everything is optional, nothing is mandatory. This all isn't just a creative issue, it's a business one. Studios today face higher development costs, larger audiences, stronger pressure to avoid frustration, and live service expectations. Risky design decisions are harder to justify. Punishing mechanics, harsh progression, player loss due to difficulty, those seem like liabilities now. So racing games became safer, cleaner, more polished, but also more sterile. When people talk about older racing games, they don't just remember how they looked. They remember losing a race and feeling crushed, barely affording a car and upgrades, beating a rival after numerous attempts and failures, and that one objective they could never achieve. Those memories come from emotion, not graphics. Older racing games weren't perfect by any means, but they weren't afraid to make you feel something. So, can new racing games feel like this again? Yes, but not by replicating the past. Racing games don't need to be frustrating. They don't need outdated systems and graphics. They just need to bring back meaningful consequences, strong identities, and real stakes. Something along the lines of controlled chaos, instead of chaos being removed entirely. And until modern racing games are willing to take those kinds of risks again, they might look better than ever, but they'll keep feeling less memorable and iconic. Now, if you grew up playing racing games of the 2000s, or if you felt this shift yourself, let me know down in the comments. What else do you think is missing from modern racing games? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.